Hi, this is Jim Mann with the Homestyle Southern Cooking. So nice to be back with you again. I'm going to bring you another one bowl recipe today. It's a cake mix we're going to make. And this is a mayonnaise cake. The mayonnaise cake was very popular in the 1950s. In the 1950s, everybody wanted things modern and new, and that's where we get all the wonderful vintage furniture from, and the vintage pottery and all the stuff that we have. So they wanted, the cake mix was still not fully developed, so they were making up crazy recipes. So somebody came up with a mayonnaise cake, and they realized they could use mayonnaise instead of eggs and oil. So that became a very popular cake in the 1950s, and people took it to different functions and everything. So today we're going to make that mayonnaise cake and revive that recipe. I will start off here. I'm going to put in my bowl here, I'm going to put 2 cups of all-purpose flour. I know you think a mayonnaise cake, but it really works, and it's really good. And you can do all this in one bowl too. I love anything that I can do in one bowl, and let's clean up. Like I tell you, I'm always about using what you have in your pantry and whatever you can do that's less cleanup for you. All right, the second thing I'm going to add to it, I'm going to go ahead and put my 1 cup of mayonnaise in there, okay? Now, I know we all have our favorite mayonnaise, so that's why I didn't show a bottle. So whatever kind of mayonnaise you want to use. It can be Hellmann's, or it can be any kind you craft. I know from Virginia, where I'm from originally, it would be Duke's mayonnaise. Everybody loves Duke's mayonnaise. So, but it can be any kind of mayonnaise you want, just 1 cup of it. I'm going to take my stir, and I'm going to mix this mayonnaise around in the flour just a little bit. All right, now to that I'm going to add 1 cup of sugar. Put 1 cup of sugar in here. Now, I had some leftover coffee from this morning. I've got 1 cup of coffee, and it's set there for a little bit, so I'm sure it's pretty strong. So I'm going to add 1 cup of coffee to this mixture. And we'll stir this around just a little bit. Now this is going to actually, with the mayonnaise, the coffee is going to sort of give it like a MOKA flavor also. But it's really, really good. To that, I'm going to add, this is a 2 teaspoon measuring spoon. I'm going to put 2 teaspoons of baking soda in here. There's 1, like I said, 2 teaspoons. And 2 teaspoons of vanilla. Okay. Set all this out of the way. I'm going to put 1/2 teaspoon of salt in here. And the last ingredients is I've got some Hershey's cocoa powder. I'm going to put 1/3 a cup of cocoa powder in here. And that's it. Then we're going to mix this all up really well. My oven's set on 350 degrees. And we're going to bake this for about 40 minutes. Oh my goodness. Once again, the smell, the cocoa and the mayonnaise, I know it doesn't sound that good, but the smell of this is really fantastic. Okay, I've got this stirred together pretty well. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to take this, take my scraper and just scrape down the sides of the bowl here. Make it easy to pour. Okay, I took my pan, and like I always did, I sprayed it, and I cut a piece of parchment paper, and I sprayed the parchment paper like I always do also. That keeps it from sticking if it's going to stick. Now I'm going to pour this into my pan. And like I said, my oven's set on 350, And this is going to cook for about, I guess, for about 35 to 40 minutes. If it changes, I will let you know. A lot of times the temperature will change because of the different pans that you use. So I'm going to spread this around. I'm going to tap it a few times to get out any bubbles. Shake it. And then I'm going to put this in my oven for about 35 to 40 minutes, and I'll be back to you. Okay, our mayonnaise cake came out of the oven and it turned out really beautiful, and it's had a chance to cool down. So now I'm going to make a chocolate frosting for it. And for the chocolate frosting, I'm going to start off with 2 scoops of powdered sugar. Now I might add more, but for right now I'm just going to start with 2. We'll put the 2 in here just like that. And I'll move this out of the way. And I'm going to actually move our cake out of the way. We'll set it back here for a second. Okay, to this, I've got a stick of melted butter. I'll put my stick of melted butter in here. I've got 1 teaspoon of vanilla. Now this is going to be like a MOKA type fudge icing. So I've got 1/2 cup of cocoa powder again, and I've got 3 tablespoons of my strong coffee. I'll put that in there too. Okay. Then I'm going to take my little hand mixer here. Oops. Mix it up some first so we don't have such a dust storm here. Okay, I could probably use it like this, but I'm going to go ahead and put just a little bit more powdered sugar in here because I want it just a little bit thicker icing than what I've got. So I'm going to take it, mix it around some first. So I've actually put like 2.5 cups of powdered sugar in here. Oh yeah, and that's a much thicker consistency. You can see, that's a nice thick consistency. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to pull this out, set this aside, set my bowl to one side, and we go back and get our beautiful mayonnaise cake here. And I'm going to take some of this icing, and I'll put it right on the top of it. Like I said, this recipe was a recipe from the 1950s, and this is the same type of frosting they made for it. And it was a very popular cake at the time because it was modern. You know, everything in the 50s had that retro look to it, and you know, the dining sets, the metal that your grandmother had, and all the beautiful Fiesta ware, china. So everything was supposed to be modern and more retro. So like I said, when they came out with this cake and they realized they could make a cake and they didn't have to use eggs, they could use the mayonnaise because that would give them the eggs and the oil. This was a really popular cake. And they used to have cake walks where people would make cakes and you'd go to where they were, and you'd walk around, and wherever you stopped is whatever cake you got. And the mayonnaise cake was always a very popular cake. So, okay, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna put it around the top of the edges of it. I could go around the sides of it, but this is typically the way they would have done it. And when I bring you things, I like to bring them as authentic as I can to you. So, okay. there is our chocolate mayonnaise cake. And of course, just setting to the side, I happen to have a plate here and a fork and a knife. So that was convenient. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut a tiny slice of this mayonnaise cake. It would probably be better if I put it back in the refrigerator for a few minutes and let it cool. But I'm going to cut the cake. And there is your mayonnaise cake. And now the true test. That cake is so moist. It's like, if you bake a lot, you know, you put more eggs in to make your cake moist. That is one of the moistest cake I've had in a really long time. And that frosting is outstanding. This is another one that has been lost in time that you need to try it. Try it with your family. You see, we made it all in one bowl. It was very simple to make. Try it and see what you think of it. Thank you so much for following me on Facebook and subscribing to me on YouTube. I appreciate all your support. It means the world to me. You take care of yourself, give yourself a big hug, and know that I'm thinking about you. Until next time, I bring you another wonderful recipe, whether it's a new one or one that's been forgotten. This is Jim in Mexico sending you a big hug and saying, God bless.